Okay, pharmacy friends, what is going on? We are back here for another live episode of Pharmacy Unplugged. We are ready to share our opinions today. I think this will be fun, right? A little different than what we usually do. As always, though, I'll be talking nonstop. But today might get a little dangerous, like dispensing medication without a license. I'll explain why in a bit. Anyway, we're talking about tariffs and the trade war, and why every single patient might be angry because pharmacy shelves could look very empty in a few months. So make sure you guys stay tuned until the end. Like we always do, before we begin, I want to thank you guys for tuning into our show. Thank you for being a part of our community wherever you're from. Thanks for listening, especially if you're joining us live right now. Get those fake accounts ready so you can interact with us. And make sure you support us by following us on Spotify. We have all our previous episodes there. Just take a look and see what topics interest you, and you can give it a go. Connect with us on social media channels. We're on X as well at Farm Unplugged. We're also on Reddit, and you guys can join us live on YouTube. We love hanging out with you guys in real time. We are usually live every other Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, but we might be on more often as our schedule might change a little bit. So you guys can subscribe to our YouTube channel and then turn on notifications so you guys know when to come on and interact with us, right? We also have a website and an email.
All right. Yeah, good intro. Our website's pharmacyunplugged.com. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we were supposed to do an episode last week, right?
That's right. I usually would ask how your week was, but I already know you were sick, right? Actually, no, not last week. Last week was Good Friday.
I was sick like 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and then you're sick again.
And then I got a bit better, and then, yeah, sick again.
So we had to cancel the episode 2 weeks ago because you were sick. That's okay. Like I always say, health is more important, right? Mm-hmm. So, and also because you are the producer and technical director of the show. We can't really do the show without you. You're
the brains behind it, though. So.
Not really. I just come in and talk randomly for an hour. I do nothing else. Most shows with like more than one person, it's more like a symbiotic relationship. People like work together, but our relationship is more like a parasitic relationship, to be honest with you.
Parasitic?
I just talk. Yes, I'm like the parasite, and you just do everything else, right? You set up the show, you upload all the videos.
I'm a voluntary host, though.
Voluntary host. Okay, so that's right. Although I have to say, I did bring in most of the listeners and followers, directly or indirectly. Mm-hmm. You also receive a gift because of how great I am.
That is true.
Exactly, but I'm not keeping score.
You're the backbone of the show.
Speaking of backbone, my bone is injured.
Oh yeah, how's your back feeling?
It was okay actually. It's better. So I injured my tailbone. For those of you listening,
did you ever say on air like how you injured it, or?
I think I did. Right? Did I not? Probably like.
It's like a month
ago, maybe. I'm pretty sure I said that. Oh, yeah. I was hoping that it won't snow, so I won't actually have to shovel because I was injured.
Yes.
Exactly. So I did. Went to see a chiropractor. It was okay, actually. Getting better. Getting there. So anyway. I should actually share, yes. I should share my experience with chiropractor.
I've never seen a chiropractor.
Never seen a chiropractor? So
I've heard that they're not that great.
In what way?
Is that true?
Depends on the chiropractor. I also went on Google and found the one that with like the highest review.
Oh, okay.
5-star. So with like 400 voting.
Okay, that can't be fake then.
Exactly.
I just heard some people who've gone to chiropractors that you have to keep going back in order to feel well. Right?
Maybe. So it's
How did you feel? How many sessions did you do?
I had 3. So 4 actually. 4, I think. See, I don't even remember anymore. It was actually okay. It was getting better.
What kind of stuff did they do?
Just like press on your back.
They manipulate the spine, right?
Adjust your bone, exactly. Yeah. But my upper back was messed up. It was very stiff. So she fixed it, kind of. It's like more fluid now, so it's better.
Oh, that's good. Is there like exercises for you to do at home or stretches?
A little bit. And also they put you on this like machine where they actually stretch your backbone, I think, a little bit, like your head, whatever. Anyway.
Machine.
So, yeah. It's almost like a workout machine. They were like strapping your head and then putting weight on it, so that's like pulling you.
Okay. They crack a lot of bones too, right?
Kind of. So.
Did they crack your neck?
Oh, you mean like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twist it around a little.
Oh, that sounds scary.
Okay.
Did you have to sign a waiver?
I probably signed it the first
You probably
first visit. I didn't know, so they're just sign here. I was like, okay. Exactly.
But I mean, like 400 reviews, then that's pretty good.
I think it was 400 anyway. But yeah, that was my experience with chiropractor. I'll see how it goes and I'll share it with you guys in maybe in a month or so. She said I only had to see her for a couple more times maybe, and afterwards just like maintenance. So once in a while.
All right, what's on tap for today?
So we're talking about tariffs, right? I did say that this episode might get a little dangerous, okay?
Why is
But
that?
this is why, okay? I don't know about you. I personally have never taken any course in any level about like economics, finance, business, not in university, not even in high school, to be
I
honest.
think I had like a business course in grade 10.
Okay, so you have more than me. So
I
you're
don't
already
remember-
more advanced than me.
I don't remember learning anything.
But today I'm going to try to explain how trade war is going to affect us.
Okay.
So now it's like you guys are getting into a car with me driving without a license. So
What do
but
you
that's
mean?
okay. That's okay. 'Cause I don't know what I'm talking about,
Oh, okay.
right?
I thought you meant that's what tariffs are.
No. But that's okay. I try to bring you guys to the destination in one piece.
Okay.
As a bonus though, maybe I'll share my take on who I think is going to win the trade war at the end.
Okay.
So
What do you mean? Is there only two players?
like US against the world.
Okay.
So right.
So who's going to win?
It's mainly US against China, to be honest. Let's
Okay.
face it, right? So we all know what's going on. But
Yeah, but
yes,
it's a good
time.
question to ask, right? Like, does this actually affect pharmacy and your, I guess, daily operations? How is it going to affect us? How is it? Can it affect our customers or patients? Who we read all the headlines every day and see in the news, but yeah, I haven't seen much talk about it in pharmacy practice. So
So you know
let
what?
us know what you think.
Let's talk about what tariffs are for people who are listening. In case you guys don't know, you guys should know already, right?
Does it just mean tax? I'll be
Yeah,
honest,
so
I
it's
didn't
basically,
research any of this.
So it's basically tax that government puts on stuff that's being imported from another country, right?
Why don't you just call it tax?
I mean, I don't know. It's like a fancy term. You know,
Okay.
that's like the economist or whatever. So yeah, you can think of it as like import tax.
Obviously, we are not. Okay,
We're
so
not.
so it's
I'm
like
not.
a tax.
I already established that. I don't like study economics or whatever. So I have like zero knowledge about
So it's
it.
like tax wars,
Yes,
right? I
so
tax
like-
you, you tax me.
Exactly. So import tax, right?
Okay.
So basically the trade war is mainly going on between US and China right now, right? So here's the situation. Because China and a lot of other developing countries actually, right? They are manufacturing goods and products at much lower cost. So they have the materials, they have the factories, they have much cheaper labor. So according to the US government, these people, these countries, are stealing the manufacturing jobs, right? And stealing the investment from US companies away from the States. So they're going to put tariffs or like tax, whatever, right? That will make it more expensive to buy stuff from outside. So like the suppliers and the companies from the States, they will have a harder time buying things from the outside because they're more expensive, right? So you're going to buy locally, right? So you're going to support, I guess, in a way, the manufacturers in the States.
Like local production.
Yeah, local production, right? Because if you are importing things from China, let's say, now it's more expensive, right? So you might turn to other, I guess, manufacturers, right? Maybe from the States if the tariff is high enough, right? So
Right.
that's basically it. To
Like whether
balance
it's your material goods or I guess a company if you need raw materials to make whatever you're making here.
Right, exactly. So they will bring jobs back to the States, right? It sounds very smart on paper, right? But I think it's actually a lot more complicated than that. So, but that's basically what tariffs are
Sounds pretty good to me if you're American, no?
so far, right? Okay, but let's look at who is actually paying for the tariffs.
Okay.
Right. I think it's important to remember if your country imposed tariffs on imported goods, the suppliers in your country is actually paying for them. Okay, so here's the thing. When US government put tariff on these goods, who is paying for them? It's not the Chinese government, not the people in China or Mexico or wherever. It's the importers and suppliers from your own country, now the States. They're going to be paying the bills, right? So what do you think the suppliers are going to do, right? When they have like increased costs?
Order locally.
Order locally, right? Okay. But what if locally is still too expensive? Just think about this, right?
Or it's not available locally. What
It's
if
not
it's
available, exactly. You don't have the ingredient, or it's so expensive. Okay,
I need
how
this
much?
fine mineral
How much
that's being
is,
mined elsewhere.
Exactly. Or how much are the American workers making? They're making like, I don't know, $70 per hour US, right?
Is that the minimum wage?
I don't know what the minimum wage is down in the States. So they're making a lot of money compared to like workers in like Mexico and China, right? So even if you put tariffs on, it might still be more appealing to actually buy from like other countries, to be honest with you. But now they're slapped with this like increase in tariff, right? So maybe they can absorb the cost if it's like 5%, 10%, or whatever, 15%. But now you're looking at like 50%, 100%. I think it's like 145 now, right? For China.
That's the number I saw,
Right.
which I don't understand.
But
So it's like the cost of your goods plus 45% on top.
yeah, so like, okay, so you're buying something, I don't know, like buying this like,
Say it costs $1.
yeah, it costs $1, right? To buy this like cup or whatever.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay $1, and then you have to pay another $1 to the US government because you're importing. That's like import tax, right? So now your cost is double. What are you going to do about this, right? So I guess you have a couple of options, right? So you have to increase price, right? So increase price, but you may lose customers. They don't want to do that really, right? But if they don't increase price, they're going to go bankrupt and lose business, the entire business. So who's ultimately paying for the tariff? You, the consumers. I guess we are, right? So we are actually paying for the tariffs. Like, I mean, like not me because I'm not in the States, but you get the idea,
Right.
right? So that's basically like who is actually paying for the tariffs.
So I have a question though. So just say in this market, previously you can import the goods. There's no tax on it. But now there's a tax. So you're not as incentivized to purchase
Buy from
that,
other
right?
countries, yeah.
But that doesn't that open up opportunity for someone else to come in and fill in that gap? Like if I just see, oh hey, you're not buying from that company in China anymore, but you need this good. Well, now here's an opportunity for me to make it for you here locally. Whereas before I wouldn't do that because my price, I can't do it as cheap as China.
But I think they still cannot do it as cheap as China. That's a problem, right? Because the labor is so much cheaper, like lower. Not just China, any Asian countries really, like right, or like even Mexico, right? Like how much they're making, like per hour, right? Probably like 10 times less than the U.S.
So something's got to give, right? Like, if you are going to have everything locally produced,
The price
eventually price is going to go up.
Yes, so they can buy locally, sure, but the price is still going to go up, right? Either way, it's going to go up. So that's the problem that they're facing, I think, right now.
Right. But I guess it's also like, that's to be expected, right? Like if you're not, if you're going to produce it locally and it costs more to produce it locally, then it's expected that me as a consumer, I'll pay more. But at least I can retain local production rather than buying from foreign countries.
It's true. It sounds very patriotic,
Right?
but
I guess that's the
I don't have enough money
ideal,
for that
right?
stuff. That's right, exactly. But it's so
Right.
expensive, right? It's like, do I want to support local goods here in Canada? Of course I do, right? But if it's a lot more expensive than the other one that's like, I don't know, made in Mexico, then I'll be like, well, maybe I should buy the one that's like,
But when you start making local production, you increase jobs here.
that's true.
I think that's the way they see it, right? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
It's true. But
Right,
the
that's the
consumer only
argument.
sees like whichever one is like cheaper, right? So that's
So we're saying the problem is the consumer then.
the consumer is going to suffer.
The mindset has to change, right? You can't continue having cheap goods produced, like paying out cheaply, right? If something's going to change about, if you're saying we need to make more jobs here.
So if the wages are going to increase, then I mean, like the production is going to be more expensive, right? So the product's going to be more expensive. Can your, I guess, consumers
That's right.
accept that, right?
Yeah.
So they have to actually accept that.
And it takes time for you to make all these changes. You're not going to have like a production plant all of a sudden
Of
pop
course,
up.
right? So like all these empty shelves, like what are we going to do about that?
But also, I think they just ran into, like, they came up with this solution, at least from my limited knowledge, was because if they didn't, the status quo just wasn't working out for them either, right? If they do nothing and they continue on the path of having everything produced elsewhere.
It's true. At least
That's
they're
not.
trying.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, is there a better solution?
But manufacturing is not even like a big part of U.S.
It used to
economy.
be.
It used to be, exactly. But they have transitioned into like service industry, right? Like tourism and service and whatever, and technology, like knowledge base, basically, right? So do you want to go backwards? Like, but you're moving forward, right? Like technology and I don't know, healthcare.
I guess they
like
just didn't want to
green energy
be
and whatever.
tied up in terms of like, because if the supply like China can cut off supply anytime they want, then what are
But
you going to
China
do?
also needs the jobs, right? Like to manufacture the stuff. So it also affects them, obviously, right? So, I mean, the thing is you cannot have everything, right? Like what direction is your country going to go, right? So, I mean, they're trying to do something, but is it going to work? I don't know. We shall see.
So does this affect us as pharmacists? Like that, my bottle of Ramapro on the shelf?
So, okay, let's talk about how it affects pharmacy, right? So you may think
costs
that
a lot
like,
more.
oh, you know what, the tariffs and trade war, it's just about like cars, electronics, or groceries that you see it's like increasing in price. Or you might be thinking, you know what, it only affects the U.S. people, right? Like U.S. consumer, because they are the one that's imposing tariff. That's not quite true, right? Because our world is actually connected to the international trade as well, right? We're not just talking about like retail items here, because medication is also like a global supply chain as well, right? So the pharmacy world is like connected. Many drugs are made with ingredients from that's sourced from overseas, right? So often from places like India or China, and then they're being manufactured in the States, and then they're shipped here in Canada, right? Or even worse, they're shipped to us for labeling and then sent back to the States for packaging and storage, and then back again here for distribution. Sometimes they do that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but the global supply chain, they're usually built based on cost savings, not really simplicity, right? So when tariff is introduced at any point in the process, right, it adds cost, delays, a whole bunch of complications, right? Imagine how many times it's crossing the border, like the product, like all over the world. And then if the state's putting tariffs on like every single time it crosses border, then medication is going to be like more expensive. So
why do tariffs exist?
it's usually to use it as kind of like a tool to
Because I've read that American goods, there's tariffs on their goods for like decades, but there's no tariffs on goods coming into the U.S. They're just trying to balancing out the scales. But my question is, why tariffs at all then?
To protect the jobs locally, and also to I guess fill in the negative trade balance, right? So let's say the states, they import a lot of stuff from other countries like China or like Mexico, whatever, but they're not exporting as much stuff, right? So they want to actually kind of like balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, so that's their argument. When
Like,
they export stuff,
Yes.
there's tariffs on their stuff for a long time now. So they're saying, well,
So if they put more tariffs on,
if there's tariffs on my stuff all this time and I'm not putting tariffs on your stuff, I'm going to start putting tariffs on your stuff now.
I mean, there are tariffs on other stuff as well already that U.S. is putting on. I think tariffs, depending on like the level of tariff that you're putting on, right? Tariff can be used as a tool, but you cannot put like excessively high amount of tariffs because it's going to affect your people, right?
Probably the number that they're spewing on, like 145%, it's probably just a negotiation tool. I don't think it's going to be that high, but whether or not that tactic's going to work in terms of getting the negotiation going, probably the final tariff, like you said, like 5, 10, 15, 20%, probably bearable, right? It's more reasonable.
I mean, like the supplier can absorb that, right? A little bit, or pass it a little bit to the consumers. But like once it reach like 100%, 200%, honestly, the number doesn't even matter anymore. Once you reach that number, you cannot even import from that country anymore, like that product.
So I think it's a bargaining tool. When they say that number, it's not actually the number that they're looking to. Well, if they achieve it, great. But they know, the other party's not stupid either. So it's probably going to be a more manageable percentage once everything settles down. We have a question here in the chat from Hardcore Ferrari 88. What a name! Does that mean it's doomed to open new independent pharmacies?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. Right? There are a few different reasons, right? Which I guess we can talk about.
Apart from tariffs?
apart from tariffs? You mean like is the tariffs going to affect?
Let's answer that
independent
question
pharmacies?
first. Yeah. Let's answer, from the standpoint of tariffs. Is that a reason not to open the new independent pharmacies?
No.
I don't think so either. Not just from the tariffs. Like what
But
I
there
think
are
is
other
that
stuff.
like
There are
what I
other
think
stuff.
is that it's probably going to stabilize, and the tariff's not going to be 145%.
Correct.
In that case,
They're
but
just playing like it's political war right now, right? Like,
but there are other reasons, like you said,
there are other reasons.
that you may not want to open your independent pharmacy,
There are other reasons, but
which
like,
we can get to
in
in another episode. So stay
So,
tuned.
but no, because you know why? Like you said, tariffs is not going to be forever. They're just trying to play this political game, right? And I think they're going to reach an agreement. They have to, right? Because both sides are going to suffer,
Yeah.
right? So, but the cost in the meantime will go up, right? So we talked about that, like,
So like in pharmacy, you're saying like is it the pharmaceutical companies that make it that need to have raw materials?
right? So let's say they get raw
manufacture.
material from China or India, they come into the States, right? They manufacture here and then they ship it to Canada, right? So let's say there is tariffs going into the States, right? Let's say Canada also put like retaliation tariffs on like the States, right? Which we might do, and we're doing in some of the products already, right? So when it comes to Canada, that product, the Canadian supplier will have to pay the tariff too, right? So they're like everybody's like paying tariffs. So the U.S. supplier is paying tariffs to get the ingredient into the States to manufacture the drug. The Canadian supplier is paying tariff to actually get the thing imported from the States. Now, like I said, imagine if you ship it up here for labeling or like whatever packaging, right? And then ship back to the States for like storage or whatever, and then back here for distribution. So you're actually passing the border like many times. Then imagine even if you just put 10% tariff every single time, that product becomes a lot more expensive, right? So
At that time, you probably have to rejig your whole supply chain.
you have to recheck your whole supply chain. It's true.
Can't use the same.
Right? So maybe like revolutionary, right? They have to like change the whole system, to be honest with you.
But they won't know until there's a final number.
That's right.
So if it costs the manufacturer more, then if I'm understanding correctly, is this trickling down to the distributor and then trickling down to the pharmacy,
consumer. Yes.
and then
the
which
consumer.
passes on to the consumer?
Now, to be fair, though, most of the drugs have been exempted from the tariff so far.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. But the U.S. government did say that they want to reevaluate the pharmaceutical imports, right? And obviously, their goal is to have more drug manufacture in the States, right? They actually have said that before because it could be like a national security as well, right? If their drug supply is interrupted, right? Or like, I don't know, someone is using a drug supply as negotiation tactic, right? So I guess that actually does make sense. So what is going to happen if the tariffs start hitting pharmaceuticals, right? Even if we don't talk about drug prices, just think of the other stuff as well. What happened to the vials, the bottles, the cardboard boxes, right? Even devices like syringes, needles, and stuff like that, right?
Wait, is anything made locally here?
In Canada, not really.
No.
So
Right. I think we have manufacturing
we do
plants
yes, of course.
or centers.
But like the whole thing is very complicated. When like the bottle of Ramipril, by the time it comes to your pharmacy, there's a lot of stuff involved, right? Not just like the Ramipril. There's like capsule, right? There's the bottle. There's the seal, right? All these packaging. There's label. So imagine if it's like fridge item with like syringe and needle as well, right? So imagine that the cost goes up, and then the finished product is more expensive. We're talking about both prescription and non-prescription drugs here, right? Haven't even mentioned like the other stuff like steel, aluminum, all the lumber they use to make shelves in the
getting a
warehouse.
headache.
Are you getting a headache just like listening to this? So just take some Tylenol.
But it costs more now.
It's okay. I'll give you a discount. So
Okay, so I guess the bottom line is eventually it will affect consumers.
yeah,
Than
and
what
the
we're
list goes
saying.
on. You get the point anyway,
Right.
right? So
But right as of I guess today, I didn't look into it, but it sounds like you looked into like as pharmaceuticals, there is a tariffs on them, or
no.
and how do they define it, right? Like, does it include everything that you just listed, or is it just the raw ingredients? But for now, no. That's what you're saying. Okay.
But the other stuff there is, right? Like, I don't know, aluminum, steel from like Canada. There's like tariff. So, but they need those stuff to like deliver the thing to you as well. So there's like a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah. Have you had any customers asking you about this?
Not yet. I
Me
don't think
neither.
so. So,
It hasn't impacted us yet.
well, they're going to ask you why the shelf is empty in a few months, right? So,
Have you noticed costs going up?
cost actually, that's a good question. Cost actually has been going up even before the tariffs, right?
Exactly. Even
But-
from COVID.
When President Trump was in his first, presidency, right? He did put tariffs on some of the stuff already. So even just from COVID and from the supply chain interruption, I think cost has been going up a little bit. If you check like McKesson, right? Some of these products actually went up by like $1, right? 50 cents, 70 cents, like slowly too sometimes, right? 20 cents, and after 3 months, another 20 cents. So, but if they go up slowly, obviously, it cuts your profit a little bit, right? But you don't want to actually just increase the price because these things are like a little bit more expensive now, right? You can't just like directly charge to the consumers because they will notice, right? They'll see, they'll be, oh, how come it's more expensive, right? But at some point, you have no choice but to actually pass on some of the costs to the consumers, right? Because you're not going to be selling it with like no profit, right? You still have to have some profit.
I was just thinking, like, maybe not so much right now, but when COVID hit, there were a number of years where there was a lot of massive back orders. And from what I read, it was because of like some raw ingredient
Shortage.
and it came from like one plant in whatever country
That's being shut down.
that's being shut down. Exactly. So I was just thinking right now, if there's tariffs, again, it can open up opportunities for other companies to start making produce whatever needs there are for that particular raw ingredient, maybe locally. So then you're not tied down to that one supply chain or one distribution from that one country.
Like a little bit more competition is always actually a good thing, right? So
Even though it costs a bit more, but now just because that one plant shut down, wherever in China, India, wherever it is, you're not constrained because there are more options now, even though it costs a little bit more.
that's why they want to put tariffs on like some of the drugs as well, I think, right? Like they haven't done it yet, but they will consider it's true, right? And it really affects healthcare as well, right? Imagine you cannot get certain medications, right?
That's what was going on, or even like there's a recall, ranitidine, and all these companies had to recall all of their stuff, different companies, because they were all using the same supply chain, right? And because
Whenever there's, like,
because it was cheap,
Quality assurance issue.
yeah,
and
because it
stuff
was
like that.
cheap,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, no, just a thought about what could happen, like if you did have tariffs, then again, like there's opportunities for competition, like you said.
Yeah, but I think obviously like you also balance like if you are trying to open up, let's say, oh, you see that whatever plant is being shut down because all these workers are sick or whatever, right? So let me open up a new plant. So how long is it going to take? Like you said,
Does
before,
take time, yeah.
right? And also like how cheap can I actually produce it here, right? Maybe if I were to open up a plant, I would open up in China or India as well, right? Because it's cheaper there, right? So that would be the same thing, kind of, right? You run into the same problem.
You mentioned something though, like about patriotism, right? Do you think that that's also one of the main considerations as well? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it like, oh, I want everything cheap, but also everything here. That's not how it
That's
works.
right.
You want something here. You're supporting your fellow man here. Then you're gonna have to pay the big bucks out of your wallet. Someone's got to pay.
Of course.
But if you're not willing to pay, then that's a trade-off. Okay, then you offshore it. But
That's
if
actually very true. You're right. But I would say this, right? The consumers usually only look at the price. They'll see that, oh, this is cheaper.
the non-patriotic ones.
Non-patriotic ones. But patriotism does not
But what if
feed
you're
you.
broke?
What? Does not feed you.
What if you're broke?
You cannot live on patriotism. I'm not saying we should be like anti-patriot or whatever.
Yeah.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
You should love your country, obviously. But
You
it
have to
doesn't
take a
feed you.
hit for X number of years.
Yes. It's fine.
Right, and
I'll
then-
eat less,
yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll buy more expensive, so I'll buy less, right? What if I can't even feed myself anymore, right?
By then, it's a different administration. Everything gets reversed.
Exactly. So I guess that's kind of like answering the question about like opening up independent pharmacy as well, right? The administration will
So you
change.
wouldn't worry about too much just based on tariffs, right?
Correct.
Obviously, if you haven't opened one yet, I probably would not open one yet until all of this settles down and you have a number that you can actually calculate to see if it's worth your investment.
But if you have a lot of money, that doesn't matter. So
If you have a lot of money, would you open a pharmacy if you have a lot of money?
it depends. I might do something else.
Is it a good investment?
It's very hard to say. Depends on a lot of factors. You know what? That's actually a very good topic. We should actually talk about that.
Maybe not just opening a pharmacy on its own. You have to have a whole strategy around that pharmacy and how it's generating revenue.
Of course, not just like randomly in random location, right? So, okay.
All right, so it's gonna be a short episode, isn't it? What else is there about tariffs?
I think we talk about most of the stuff as well, right? So obviously, like ultimately affects the consumer and patient as well.
Okay.
Right. So more back orders, right? And for pharmacy staff too, right? Just think about this. It means like more delay, more stress, and then you're just like calling prescriber to change prescription. Now it's
Well, the back orders is if the supplier can't supply you with the medication because it can't be made.
But here's
in this
the thing.
case, it can supply to you, but it just costs more.
Right. So the other thing is this, right?
Or they're not making it at all because it costs so much.
Correct. They're not even importing anymore because it costs so much, right? Obviously, the government can actually regulate drug prices. I think Canadian government does that to a certain extent, right? So this will limit the impact on prescription medications. So we might not actually see the prescription drug price going up.
But
right
again,
away.
if they're not supplying it, there's an opportunity for a company to come in and say, "Hey, we're going to be the supplier now."
Yes, that's fine. Just tell the patient that amoxicillin will be ready in 3 years when the new plan
When
is
that plan
built.
goes up.
Exactly. So the issue we cannot ignore is availability, right? Exactly. That's where the real problem, right? So honestly, the suppliers they don't function based on patient care, right? They think about profits. So they're going to be selective, like you said. They're going to import certain things and not import certain things, right? So now we're going to be like faxing the prescribers all the time, changing the prescription, calling out the pharmacy to see, oh, do you have this medication in stock? Or calling the suppliers, calling McKesson and be like, when is this going to come back in stock? Why do you not have amoxicillin, right? Trying to explain to the patient that why do you not have amoxicillin, right? So
We have
that's
to
right.
explain stuff all the time.
It's true,
They
but
could-
now there's more explaining to do, right? More yelling. See, look at the comment. More yelling, angry patients.
Another
That's
comment in the chat. More yelling and angry patients.
Right. That's right. As if they're not angry enough. So, actually, no. Speaking of angry patients, we're gonna talk about angry patients.
We were
one of
supposed
the
to talk about
episodes.
that
Exactly.
last episode, right?
Exactly. But your voice
Until I got
is not
sick.
100% correct because I need you to talk about angry patients because you have a lot more angry patients than I do. Right?
Yeah, I can't rant with this voice right now.
Exactly. So that's why we changed the topic. Don't worry, angry patient will be coming
It's
soon.
coming up.
Exactly.
But if
So-
you guys have any stories about angry patients
Oh, yes.
or getting yelled at,
That's actually good. Yes, submit
shoot
to
us an email.
We are going to share it. on air.
pharmacyunplugged@gmail.com.
We will tell you how we actually will handle that, right? So, but we can also talk about here, like, what are we doing in the pharmacy?
You mean in terms of tariffs?
Yeah.
What can we do in the pharmacy?
Nothing much, but okay, I'm just joking. So just take a look, just stay informed a little bit, right? More.
I mean, me as a pharmacist, just a staff, I don't feel like it affects me.
Not yet. That's right.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But as a manager, you
Or-
gotta keep track of the
It will-
numbers.
exactly, but it will start affecting you when the back orders come, right? So you have to like work more now. You have to explain to patients. That's what it's going to be.
Or now operation costs are more, and then you get fired because there's not enough.
Or
money to
just
go around
think about
for
this,
staff.
like your manager or like the owner is going to say, you know what? Now you have to start doing more med check because we need more profit, right? So
Or your salary goes down.
your salary goes down, right? Salary.
But I
freeze or
need more
whatever.
money to buy the more expensive goods now.
Exactly. So you have to do more med check. So inject more people, do more minor ailments.
You're saying I should worry about it now then?
I don't think you should worry about this. So why worry when it's not here yet, right? Exactly.
But is there anything, even if you wanted to do something about it, like other than staying informed, there's not much we can do.
There's not much you can
We're
do.
just sitting back watching the show right now.
Enjoy the process. I think that's the most important thing, right? As the manager, I think there's more involved for me, right? Checking the minimum stock level, increase inventory, maybe. right?
Tighter inventory management.
Tighter inventory management. Actually, no, you might have to like.
Are you going to
buy
get more?
stuff? You buy more stuff.
Yes.
Like, right. Obviously, it costs you more, right? But maybe that's the cost of staying in business as well.
Yeah.
So.
It probably makes sense for the government to inject some money. I don't know. Maybe they have done this already, because, as you mentioned earlier, there's going to be a short-term hit to the economy while everything stabilizes. New players coming in, getting set up. So, I don't know. Maybe have they put any money in to reinvesting? Like, okay, we're going to increase tariffs. We know it's going to take time for this to stabilize. Here's this investment money for new business owners or people who want
We're
to.
doing this, right?
That's
like,
right. Manufacturing.
This specific thing because
right.
we now like
We put tariffs. Yeah, we put tariffs on manufacturing whatever the part that is. So if you are in the game of manufacturing this, I don't know, computer chips. I think that's big. Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, right? So important stuff.
Yeah.
Anything could be important, right? Like
Yeah. So if you're in that incentivizes new players to come in. Have you read anything like that?
I think it's one of the possible strategies for the government as well, right? But like you said, the administration change all the time, right? So
It's only a few years now.
exactly, and then they're going to scrap everything that the other government did.
Yeah.
So right, or like halfway through, they were like, okay, whatever, like let's change it now. Let's do this instead.
It's too unstable, is what you're saying.
It's unstable. I do think that tariffs is going to get resolved, right? But
I can
it'll
open a
play out
company,
little bit.
right?
Yeah.
And these 4 years is good.
Yeah.
But 4 years later, there's no tariffs now
Yes.
on international players.
That's right.
And now I'm screwed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to pay your employees, I don't know, $60 per hour, while they're only making like 60 pesos, whatever,
Right.
in like Mexico.
Yeah.
So like, what are you going to do about
That's
this?
a big problem.
Right. So move your factory to like Mexico, right? So
It's not something that can be solved overnight or even in a few years. We're looking at probably a decade.
that's actually a very good point. It's not something that you can solve right away, right? We just do whatever we can right now. The other thing you were saying, like what we can do, right? In a pharmacy, you can develop a system. Maybe you have to communicate with like prescriber, even like notice to patient, easier. Here's a handout. See, there's like tariff explaining why your Ramaprus back order.
Give them a heads up about things that like are affecting them directly, whether it's a back order or price increase, right? You know, starting next month, just to let you know, there's a 10% increase on what are prescription medications, only because our pharmacy has been hit with these costs due to, you know, XYZ, including tariffs.
Put it on your website, put it out as a notice, whatever, right? Educate the patient. I think that's important. So
Then they'll just go to next door, another pharmacy.
it's true, but it might be the same thing.
Well,
as
the bigger companies will be able to outlast you.
That's right. So everybody will end up working for shoppers.
Therefore, don't open an independent.
Look at you, so pessimistic.
I'm just bringing back full circle to the question.
Although I'm the one that's talking about retirement all the time. So retire from pharmacy.
You're
Don't
so
be a
young. What are you
pharmacist.
going to do with your time?
What? I'm not that young anymore.
Anything other than pharmacy? Is that?
Anything other than pharmacy. So yeah, we'll see if the shelves are empty in a few months. But we still have a little bit of time. We can talk about who I think is going to win.
Who's going to win the trade war?
Yes. Okay, let me start by saying this. There's no real winner, to be honest with you, right? Everyone is going to lose in some way.
Yeah,
right?
but who's going to win more?
I can tell you
Or lose less?
which government I think is going to lose less, right? So let's think about this, right? So China is putting on tariff in the States as well now, right? Against like American products. So do comments. Dedicate my life to Costco. Wow.
So yeah, comment here. I guess I'll dedicate my life to Costco. Yes, that's a sound strategy.
Costco pays more. That's right. So you get a break too.
Join the big boys.
Okay. If you cannot
It's a
beat
bigger
them,
ship. It's
if you
not going to
cannot
sink as
beat them,
easily.
Join them. Costco is an American company, by the way. So talk about like patriotism.
Whichever is a big company. What are the big players here?
The country that's trying to invade us and make us like the 51st state.
I go shop there every weekend though. They take my money.
Talk about patriotism. So unpatriotic of you. So
I didn't know they're American. No,
But-
just playing.
anyway, that's pretty funny, right? So I think that was funny. What are
I
we
don't know.
talking-
Like you were talking about who's
Oh,
going to win a
gonna
trade
Who's
war.
going to win? Okay, no one's going to win. But
Who's going to lose less?
lose less, right? So I look at some numbers actually, right? So the export amount that China exports to US, right, accounts for approximately 14% of their export.
Sorry, repeat that.
14%. So China's export, 14% of the goods actually go to the States,
Oh,
right?
that's not that.
So
Well,
it's
not
actually
low, but
not that high,
It's not low,
right?
but
It's not low,
yeah.
correct, right? So the thing is, China has actually been preparing for this, I think, right? Because 10 years ago, I think it was over 20%. They're actually slowly cutting down,
Who's buying the goods?
like other Asian countries, European Union, like other places, African countries were growing.
Because I thought the States has a huge consumer base, like the largest in the
They're
world.
still the largest economy in the world. There's no question, right? So China has tried to diversify, right? I think it's the strategy. But like I said, U.S. is still the largest economy. They have like high consumer power. They dominate the financial market.
So they can't lose them as a
Exactly. So
customer.
it's actually hard, right? So the Chinese manufacturer will take a huge hit, right? But you can also look at the other side. Let's look at import, right? Obviously, U.S. import approximately like 20% of their products from China, right? While China only imports 6% of the stuff from the States. So if you think about when they import the stuff, if they have to pay tariffs, so the consumer locally will have to pay more. So this is not going to affect the Chinese consumer as much as the U.S. consumers, right? Just think about like the clothes, shoes, electronics, everything that they sell from Walmart, Target, Home Depot, pretty much, right? They're all coming from China. So imagine there's like nothing to sell, or everything is like double the price now. So
What you're saying is that concessions to be made will be on the U.S.'s end versus China's.
So for consumers, U.S. consumer is going to get hit a lot more, obviously. For manufacturers, Chinese manufacturers are going to get hit more, right? So if you think inflation is bad right now in like the States, or like, I think it will indirectly affect Canada as well. Just wait like another year or two. I think it will get like more expensive, this stuff. So
Yeah, I feel like it's like the numbers are blown out of proportion right now. And again, as we mentioned, it's probably going to be a lot more reasonable coming down because, as you said, they both kind of need each other.
they do.
I just thought of something funny though. Did you see? I don't know. Do you see like TikTok reels
Of which one?
or YouTube reels of like these manufacturing plants, I guess, or people who work for them, showing people like
Oh, the luxury
manufactured goods.
The
Yeah,
luxury
like
goods.
this is like Lululemon.
And so
The
cheap.
pants, right? It's like $2. I don't know, making it up somewhere around
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
like
yeah.
$2. Whereas
And they're selling for
if
50
we
bucks
buy
here.
American,
Yeah.
it's going to cost you like $40-$50,
Yeah.
right? So and then to go on to say we're located at blah 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 in whatever city in
Oh, really?
China.
Okay. Come by.
You can just order directly from us.
Oh.
I'm just wondering about for drugs. Like imagine if you had that, and it's like, hey, you didn't know Ozempic? You're paying like hundreds of dollars for this.
Now it's only $10.
actually made from this plant here, right? But it's actually $10-$20 now, right? So just order and then we ship it directly to you.
There you go. It's like the U.S. citizens buying insulin from Canada, right? There's like a website that's
Yeah.
set up like Canada Insulin.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think
It's cheaper in Canada.
yes, it's much cheaper.
Do
in
you get
Canada.
people coming in? I get people coming periodically,
from the States?
even in the hospital,
From the States.
Yeah, from the States.
Yeah, to buy stuff.
to
So-
buy insulin.
Buy Tylenol 1 too.
Oh, Tylenol. Oh, we
Yeah.
don't carry that.
Because you don't carry Tylenol 1.
Yeah, they don't have Tylenol ones there.
They don't have Tylenol 1.
Oh.
Or by prescription only, I think.
Ah, I see.
So exactly. They're like,
Interesting.
how many bottles of Tylenol 1 can I actually buy? Right? I was like 2. So they're like, okay.
2 today. Come back tomorrow.
So, yeah. To be honest, I don't think there is a winner. But if we're going to talk about this, there are actually two things I think that's going for China, right? Have you heard of like rare earth elements?
I've heard of that term,
Yeah. So
but I never looked into it.
basically what it is there are like chemical elements on the periodic table, right?
Is it like lithium?
Lithium is not rare. So
Okay.
some of these elements,
I thought lithium was becoming more rare because
more rare.
it's in all the batteries, and
I don't think
we're,
lithium
we're
is
gonna
rare.
run out of it.
I think there are like 17 or 18 of them. So I should look up the list, to be honest.
Okay, what's a rare one?
Just look up like rare earth.
I thought you looked into this already.
I was reading about like rare earth.
Is gold rare?
Gold is expensive.
Because it's rare, no? Okay, anyways, what's the point though for about rare earth elements?
So they are actually pretty abundant. They're not actually rare. They're
Okay.
called rare because they're actually hard to mine, right?
Okay.
And it's actually hard to concentrate,
Okay.
right?
How to extract?
So extraction,
Okay.
correct. That's a better term. So China now has 60% of the world supply.
Of rare earth elements?
Yes. And
What do you do with it?
The more staggering number, they actually have 90% of processing and refining of the world supply of rare earth.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you use rare earth for? Get
Can you make
this.
drugs out of it?
Everything modern, pretty much,
Okay.
right? So think about technology: your smartphone, laptop, flat screen TV, electric cars, wind turbines, solar panels, pretty much all these high tech things. Also, get this: military equipment, fighter jets, missiles, radar. So imagine if China stopped exporting rare earth to the States, which they're starting to limit, right? Who is going to suffer more? I don't really know. So US cannot even invade China because they have no military equipment. There's no fighter jets. Who is going to win? They have like no military power at that time. So just think about this for a second. Do you not think the States know this? Do you not think China knows this? Of course they do. They're just playing a game with each other right now. So, and the last thing that's going for China is that they're not a democratic country. Just remember that.
Right.
The leader does not have to answer to the people. They just have to do whatever they think is the best for the country.
They move fast.
Yes. So they move fast and they don't even care about like all these like there's no protest. What protest?
Decisions are made
Instantaneously.
and implemented.
Immediate. So US is different.
No red tape.
Oh, Congress, whatever, the Senate.
I don't know.
Oh, all these things.
I hear about those terms, but
So
we don't have all that in Canada, right? We have some red tape, but I think there's more so in the States.
well, in the Western countries like us, right? Like they play politics all the time. And they also have to consider, oh, what should I do to get the votes, right? So that slows down the process.
It's always a trade-off, right?
So
Democratic country, you have to
There is
have a
good-
system and you have to follow the system rules.
yeah, there's good and bad about democratic
Yeah.
country, right? Like so-called like communist country, right? There's good and bad as well. So
At the cost of free speech in a communist country, right? So I guess you have to look at it both ways.
there's
But-
no like perfect system, obviously,
Yeah.
right? So this is one thing that US is battling as well. Imagine all these protests going on in the States right now, right? Or who is going to protest more when you see like nothing in Walmart, right? Like
Why
people
can't we
are
just all
on the
get
street.
along?
I don't know.
If there was an alien invasion, then we would all get along, right?
No, we all die.
No, oh yeah, probably would.
Exactly. Explode.
But just say it was a fair fight, then we would all get along. We'll all band together,
And try
like
to
in the
fight
movies.
the alien. Like try to fight
Yeah.
the alien. We've been watching way too many movies.
You know, if the aliens found us, then yeah, we're probably screwed.
We're like all dead.
We
So-
we find the aliens. If we find the aliens,
and they're much stronger than us. So they're going to come invade our planet.
but they would have found us first, no? If they are stronger,
I don't know. Anyway, this episode has gone awry.
yes,
So
actually
that's pretty much it, I think. Oh, look at this. We fill up almost an hour.
almost an hour.
Just
Okay,
randomly me talking all the time. There you go.
two pharmacists who know nothing about economics commenting on things that we.
Hey, you did have great time business. So there you go.
Oh yeah, okay. I think the only thing we learned there, I don't remember much, was how to set up a business.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you
Again,
know
I don't remember the details.
When we talk about like
but I
pharmacy
think
business,
we had a project where it's like, oh, we start a business. What are things you have to consider?
there you
Things
go.
like that.
Pharmacy business, you're the expert. So when we
But
talk
nowhere
about
in that
pharmacy
course did they
business,
mention
we talk
taxes or
about it.
tariffs.
But non-existent at that time, or like not that much,
Non-existent.
right? I bet they're teaching it now. There you go. All right. We had fun.
Yeah,
I have fun, as always.
I didn't cough as much as I thought I would, which
Exactly.
is great.
Because you didn't talk. Exactly. So
Not as much as usual.
you let me do all the talking.
So if you guys have suggestions or ideas on topics that you want to hear about for future episodes, please let us know. Otherwise, you're going to continue hearing random topics such as the one that you heard today.
What are you talking about? It's fine. There's nothing wrong with today's topic.
I didn't say there's wrong. I just said it's random.
We have to have 100. We have to hit 100. There you go.
Comment here. That was fun. Good night. All right. Good night. Hardcore Ferrari. But yeah, when's our next episode? Okay,
Next
next week or
episode-
2 weeks from now?
Next week. Let's do it next week.
All right.
All right. So that's all the time that we have. Hopefully you guys have fun. Thanks to those of you who interacted with us. Make sure you connect with us again. Any comments or questions, suggestion, like Richard said. All right.
All right. Have a good
Until
night.
next time, have a good week, guys. Go out and vote.